Welcome to the Alkebulan radio show. We are doing a special segment as the wrap up to season 2. And I would like to start off as I always do and should do is to first of all give thanks and praises to the Almighty Creator. We give thanks and praises, Mother, Father, God, for the opportunity to be here today. We give thanks for love, life, and light. We give thanks for grace and mercy and all the favor, protection, and covering that you continue to bestow upon us. Give thanks for all the things that we have, all the miracles, signs, and wonders. We give thanks for what we have now and what is to come. I ask for a special protection and a special activation for everyone who is listening over the airwaves. I ask that each and every person be inspired to be a better version of themselves, that they be motivated and fired up to shine their light brightly into the world. We know that good conquers evil and that light dispels darkness. And we give thanks for our angels, our ancestors, the light workers, and spiritual guides that continue to help us on our journey. And we also give thanks and honor to the elders who have paved the way before us. And we give thanks for those children who are yet to come and for those who are here so they can stand up and rise up and be righteous men and women of God. Give thanks and praises. Amen, Ashe, Namaste, Adupwe, Aho. Okay, family, I am doing a unique segment today. This is the first Saturday in October, which that segment is Empress, the Empress. And I am doing something that I started in season 1, where I use this opportunity to spread a message through teaching. And so what has been placed on my heart is to share with you the 12 spiritual powers. And Charles Fillmore, he created this theory in 1930. And if anyone is interested in doing a little bit more research, I just want you to know where my source is coming from. At the time of 1930, that was also the time that Rastafari was crowned on November the 2nd, King of Kings, and the 7 seals were broken. And if you do research around that time, there were a lot of great thinkers and forerunners of enlightenment that we see today. So, according to Charles Fillmore, every human being possesses 12 powers. And these powers are meant to help us in creating the life that we want for ourselves. And in addition to it being 12 powers and characteristics, there are also colors that represent each of the powers, specific areas of the bodies that represent each of the powers. And in addition to that, it is also likened to the 12 apostles. And so the 12 powers are faith, strength, wisdom, love, power or mastery, imagination, understanding or overstanding, order, will, zeal, elimination or release, and life. And so Charles Fillmore, he was considered to be an American mystic, and he is very popular for being an early 20th century writer. And the way that he assigned the colors and the body locations, it was a very intuitive practice. And as I mentioned before, he likened the 12 powers to the followers of Christ. And so one of the main things that I want to bring up that I think can be explored greatly in the church and also within the Christian faith is that Christ is not supposed to be the great exception to the rule, but Christ is supposed to be the great example. And so being more Christ-like means that we activate the powers that Christ was an example to that we see in scriptures. And so each of us has inherent powers likened to Christ and the powers that Christ had to have dominion. And these days is something that we I hope can be reminded of and inspired to be more Christ-like. So one of the primary powers, the first is faith. And this is the first of the 12 powers. And faith is the ability to believe, and it's also the ability to intuit. It is having the power to know that beyond the seen, that there are unseen things, and that oftentimes, again, to remind us, in the unseen world, most of the times, if not all of the times, the unseen is much more powerful than the seen. And so the word faith, generally we think that it's simply having a form of belief. And sometimes people believe that it's based on ignorance or superstition. When we have people who are analysts, people who are considered to be practical thinkers or pragmatists, they may scoff over the idea of having faith. But faith is a very powerful thing. Faith, again, has to do with tapping into your intuitive self. And so, as the highest form of knowledge, a lot of people believe that it's the intellect. And that when we have faith, it is a blind faith. That it's not necessarily a practical thing that we can apply to our everyday life or to our business affairs. However, faith is not something that you can intellectually explain. We know that science and religion can meet and have a meeting of the minds and match and have balance. However, the things that go on in a person's mind and in their heart are not tangible things that we can feel or always see. You can not tangibly feel it, and we can't see it. However, the things that happen in the mind when they are faith-based, figuratively speaking, you can move mountains, because faith is a driving force and the manifestation of the visible things that we can measure. And so the power of faith is something that Charles Fillmore, is Charles Fillmore. I'm thinking of someone else. So Charles Fillmore, his name is spelled Fillmore. And he actually has a book, The 12 Powers of Man. And so he likened this particular power to the pineal gland, and the color is dark blue. And it reminds me also of the chakras as well. And so faith is the number one power of man. And again, it is a force to be reckoned with that we cannot see. And it has everything to do with creating from the unseen, creating visible, tangible things that we can measure. And so the second power is strength. Strength is the power to endure, to last, to preserve, to be able to withstand, to be stable, and to be persistent. Strength is represented by the color green, and the area in the body is the small of the back. And I did not mention the power, the first power of faith is also related to the Apostle Peter, and this strength is related to the Apostle Andrew. And so when we think about strength, oftentimes people think about physical brawn, the strength being a muscular or brawny person. And we know, especially as women, that there are different types of strength. You have mental strength. A woman may not be able to physically do some of the things that a man can do, but it takes strength to be able to bring forth life and to go through labor pains and to be able to usher in and co-create. And when you think of strength, again, like faith, it's just not material. The emotional, the mental, the intellectual, and the spiritual strength is something that people can consider on their list when we're looking at it from a holistic perspective, that having the strength, having the ability to withstand, as it says in Ephesians 6, when we put on the whole armor of God, It is so that we will be able to withstand in these times that are really considered for some of us to be the last days, or in the times of, where we see evil here in the world. Are we selling our souls to the devil for 30 pieces of silver like Judas? Are we withstanding and keeping our values and knowing that money is not the end all be all, although we do need money to survive? Are you holding on to your principles? Are you holding on to your character, your values, and your virtues, and not putting yourself in situations where you're not being true or authentic to who you are and what you are supposed to be doing? And so strength could be resisting temptation. Strength could be knowing when to be silent in the midst of those who would goad you into not being your higher self. Strength could be the endurance of fasting, to be able to fast and pray, to be able to continue to go on even when it looks like you should be discouraged. And one of the tools that Charles Fillmore gave was to remind us that oftentimes when we are being challenged in life, that we can actually call on at least two or more of these powers. And so for me to have the strength, oftentimes it is my faith that allows me the opportunity to push forward and have supernatural strength in times where I endure things that I know that it's through grace and through my spiritual powers that I'm able to do so. And so the third power is wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to have the spirit of discernment. It is the ability to be able to evaluate and to assess the situations that life brings to us. The quality of being wise rather than just simply being an educated person or an intellectual person. One of the beauties of life that I love is that although society has a status quo, and we think that if a person is lettered, like a PhD, or if they're degreed, that there are things that maybe they may know. But when it comes to matters of the heart, matters of the spirit, and also matters of the mind, there are many people who are self-taught and who can be more knowledgeable and more intelligent than the person who has book smarts. I always remember my father teaching me that a person who has common sense and street smarts can survive anywhere in the world. But a person with book smarts, when you take them out of the environment that they were trained to perform and achieve in, oftentimes it would be difficult for them to be able to survive outside of their environment. And yes, my parents, they promoted higher learning and education, but it was about having a balance and also being able to respect those who may not be formally trained or learned, and know that they also brought valuable things to the table as well. So when I think about wisdom, I think about grandparents and great parents who may have had a third grade or sixth grade education, but they can run circles around the person who has the so-called intellect today. And when you're thinking about leading from your heart, in addition to leading with your mind, wisdom comes to mind to me. Wisdom is key to many, many things that we need in the world. Knowledge without wisdom can be useless. And so wisdom is a very important power. It is considered to be the third power. And the color that is likened to wisdom is yellow. And yellow is represented by the pit of the stomach. And when we listen to our gut feeling, like when you have that feeling in your gut, that's that innate wisdom that you have, that instinct. And it's said that, we have two brains. We have the gut, our stomach, and we also have our brain, our intelligence. And I believe that the gut is the spiritual center of that feeling, that wisdom that you have. Okay, so moving along to the fourth power. I actually think that this is one of I think it's the most important of the 12 powers, and that's love. And as Ziggy Marley says, shout out to the Marley brothers. Their concert was amazing. I had an opportunity to go with my sons and some of my sister friends. Shout out to Omi, Dio, Noni the Juice, and my sister Marlene for blessing us with having a family opportunity. It was an amazing show. But I'm saying that because Ziggy Marley, he says that love is my religion. And so I stand by that because there is one God, and no matter what your religion is, there are some simple things, simple principles that you will see prevalent in all of the major religions in the world, just like the golden rule where we treat others as we would like to be treated. So love is the ability to be in harmony. It is the ability to be a unified energy, to be able to have the power to love. Also is the ability to be able to attract as opposed to repel. When someone is loving, that actually is like bringing the energy forward, embracing and nurturing someone, as opposed to when someone is not loving. It is kind of like a standoffish energy, a repelling type of energy. And when we think about love, sometimes we think that the opposite of love is hate, when really the opposite of love is fear. When we don't understand a thing, we fear it. And that is why it's so key for us to learn how to have understanding, overstanding, understanding of one another so that we can operate in the power of love. And the Apostle John, and that's interesting because John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world, and that he gave his only begotten son. And so with that being said, John is the apostle and pink is the color that is represented by this. And in addition to that, it is also the part of the body is the heart. It's naturally located in the back of the heart. And I do associate the color pink with love. And I think that John is a great example of what that looked like in the Bible, although it was the Apostle John and not John the Baptist. And so power is the fifth principle or the fifth power. And power is not just power and might, but mastery. Because to master oneself is to be an extremely powerful person. And with that being said, what is power? Power is to master, to be able to control in a positive way, and then to dominate. Some people will look at dominating as being a negative thing, but it doesn't have to always be so. We have the power to speak life and death over ourselves and others through the tongue. And so the larynx, the voice box, is at the base of the tongue, is the organ of the body, or the body part, not the organ that it's related to. The color is purple, and the apostle that it's likened to is Philip. So when we think about power, a lot of times I think about domination in the way that it was described, the powers that be, people who are oppressing others, colonizers, the things that have happened throughout history. I think of power struggles. I think of people who are wanting to be superior over others and treat them as inferior. But there's another way to look at power too. We have a lot more power than we utilize. It's also said that the brain, we don't utilize our brain power to its fullest capacity. We use a small fraction of it. Baba Yoga Bay, who is now our veneer ancestor, he had a chant, and he says, who's got that power? We've got that power. I say, who's got that power? We've got that power. And so power can be a reminder that we are no longer victims. We were never victims. We are victors, and we've got the power. Who's got the power? We've got the power. We have the power to master ourselves. We have the power to control our destiny. We are the masters of our own fate, the captains of our own fate, the masters of our own destiny. We have the power. And so power can be looked at as a very good thing to remind us of the divine power that exists within us. Okay, moving right along. Imagination is the next power that we will discuss. And imagination, I think, is so important. It has to do with visualization. And when you study any of the masters who talk about self-development and manifestation, they always talk about the power to visualize in your mind what you want to see. When you are into praying and being an intercessor, that's important. When you use prayer for healing, you can actually imagine a white light encompassing the whole body of a person, whether you're physically with them or not, and send prayers out. When you're in a situation that you don't want to be in, you can envision and imagine yourself beyond that situation. That is one of the tools that our ancestors used in order to survive. They knew that trouble doesn't last always. They knew that a change was going to come. So I just want to remind you all that the power to imagine, it is a very important tool. When we think about what are our goals, what are our dreams, you have to be able to imagine and see yourself as if it is already done. See yourself where you want to be, and know that whatever your circumstances are now, that does not have to be the permanent place for you. And so imagination is, as I mentioned, the power to visualize. It's the power to envision, to be able to conceptualize something in your mind, an image beyond what you physically see. And the image that I see is healing for the world. I see unity. I see no more war. I see no more poverty, no more hunger. I see families strong and united. I see people in communities. I see our children being raised in villages. I see more marriages, less single parents. And if there are single parents out there, that they have a system of support that is so amazing that they don't feel that they're walking it alone. I see children playing outside. I see us cleaning up the world where there is not polluted waters, and that we can actually eat real food, and that people can have health and longevity and live to be 100 and beyond. These are the things that I hold space for. I see joy. I see laughter. I see my children and my children's children prospering. I see me healthy, wealthy, and wise, healed and whole. And I see these things for you all. I normally do affirmations as well. And so these are my affirmations that I give to you all today. I allow myself to prosper in each and every way. I allow myself to be the best version of myself. I allow myself to be healthy, wealthy, whole, and wise, at peace, in love, and in joy. Ashe, and so it is. Oh, and by the way, the Apostle Bartholomew and the color blue represents imagination, and the location for the body part is right between the eyes, which I think is very appropriate, because that is also our third eye. Our mental eye is there as well. Okay, moving right along. Understanding is our next power of man. Understanding is the ability to be able to perceive something clearly, to be able to know it. When you understand, which we call it overstanding or understanding, because you're able to stand up and over a situation and not let it bring you under. So when you are clearly able to perceive a thing, it also changes your perception. And the word perception and perceive Perceive is actually a root word of perception. Perception is everything, family. There are ways that we can look at things in life and it can give us patience. We can have more tolerance for one another. And there are ways that we can look at things in life and it causes us frustration. It causes us to be stuck in a trigger instead of moving beyond it. One of the most important tools that I've learned is the ability to be able to say, you know what? People are doing the best that they can do. And if they're not, guess what? They wish that they were doing better. And so when I handle situations in life with people, I'm able to give grace because of this. I'm able to give grace because I'm looking at them beyond the current experience. I'm saying to myself, you know what? This person may just need more love in their life. This person is operating out of pain, and so their response is a trauma response. This has helped me so many times. Another thing that I do is I also ask myself, what is this person teaching me? How can I learn more about myself and how I want to move in the world by how this person is showing up in my life? And sometimes it's not the people, it's the circumstances and the situations. Sometimes, as Baba Yoga Bay, he's coming to me again, he would say, breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. And the reason why Baba used to say that for me was to train me to have that self-mastery, which is power. To be able to ground myself so that I wouldn't let the pressures of life overwhelm me. That I wouldn't let what sometimes can be mental health challenges, the craziness of others, put me over the edge. So perception is everything. So when you have a greater understanding of how things work in the world, how people operate, that people are mirrors. There's an African proverb that says, when I have a sister, I don't need a mirror. And when you are in relationships with other people, it truly helps you see who you are and who you are being and who you want to be. It's a challenge to our values. It's a challenge to our character oftentimes when we deal with people. It's easy when you isolate and you don't want to be bothered, but it's not easy to grow in those places. So understanding is key to being able to cooperate and create unity and to walk in a spirit of love. And understanding is represented by the color gold. It's also represented by the Apostle Thomas, which is interesting because Thomas was considered to be a doubting Thomas. That's actually an adage that people say, oh, don't be a doubting Thomas. And so with understanding, it can dispel doubt as well. And understanding is connected to the front part of the brain. When you think about the frontal lobe and children, they say, oh, they're grown when they're 18 because they're legally considered an adult. Let me tell you that brain, the frontal lobe, does not even develop until they're 25. And 7 years is a life cycle. So oftentimes we need to give the youth 7 more years. Am I saying that they should be treated like adolescents? No, I'm not. I'm saying that we should not be quick to push them out into the world without them being properly equipped. And even if they're going off into the world for college, career, military, they still need a soft place to land and they still need our guidance. And although my mother is not here now, she's an ancestor, even to this day, I would still lean on the wisdom and the understanding of my mother. So you're never too old to get support from your village and from your parents or those who become your spiritual parents. But I want us to recognize this phenomena of us pushing our children out before their frontal lobes are even fully developed. Okay, so the next power is will. To use the power of will, like man was given free will. It is the power to choose. It is the power to decide on what will or will not be. And so when you think about free will, it is the thing that separates us from the animal kingdom. It is the thing that the angels don't even have, because the angels have perfect will. So the free will aspect of being a human being, it is a very interesting thing. I say that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. I'm not a human being having a spiritual experience. And what gives me that human experience as a spiritual being is actually will. I can choose every day to get up and give thanks and praises and speak with the Creator and walk with the Creator and have the Creator go before me. Or as I coin it with my sons, and Bob Marley actually says, when you get up and you quarrel every day, you're saying prayers to the devil, I say. And so I can get up and I can fuss and I can quarrel and fight. And that's me saying prayers to the devil. When I go out into the world, I can have a smile on my face and I can have an open heart and an open mind to give love wherever I go. Or I can be a closed up person where I'm not allowing myself to feel the experiences. And so each day I choose to allow myself to be a vessel that the Creator can move through me and in me so that I can be in service to myself, my family, and to others. And I'm saying myself first because I'm learning that you can't pour from others. You can't pour into others from an empty cup. It is so important for us to pour into ourselves and to love ourselves so that we can love others. And how can you love others if you don't know what it's like to be loved? So that's another thing. We really need to just amp up the amount of love that we give and that we allow ourselves to receive. And so as I talk about will, I want you to think about the things that we allow and the things that we choose. Are you choosing to say yes to the good things in life? Are you allowing yourself to receive all that you have given? Do you allow yourself to play the victim and be triggered by others? Are you choosing to be a people pleaser? Are you creating a life for yourself where you feel like you have the power to choose what you want? Are you allowing yourself to be empowered to know that you're not stuck, that you can actually be more, do more, have more, give more, and receive more? And so the power of will is key. Now, the color for will is silver, and Matthew is the apostle who is a likened to will. All right, moving along. The next power is order. When I graduated from college, I felt like, oh, I don't really know a lot. I need to go home and be around my family. Let me be with people who love me. And I got a master's degree right after my undergrad degree. And so when I say I don't know a lot, I meant the world. Like, I didn't really know how to maneuver out here. Just because you have a degree, as I said earlier, it does not mean that you are equipped to do things outside the area that you're qualified to be in. So it was important for me to go home and be around my family because I had a healthy mom, and I'm grateful for that, because sometimes we can't be around our family if they're toxic. So I knew that my mom would be someone who would give me guidance and that she wouldn't steer me wrong. So I used to always say, I got to get organized. I got to get everything in order. I got to get organized. I got to get organized. And my sister Vanessa, shout out to Nessie, she used to laugh at me so much. She said, that's all you say. That's all you say. You got to get organized. You got to